Good evening and welcome to the March 4th, 2026 meeting of the Scarborough Town Council. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tony, could you please call the roll?
Counselor Doherty.
Here.
Counselor Kane.
Here.
Counselor Shu.
Here.
Counselor Donovan.
Here.
Counselor Anderson.
Here.
Counselor Hayes.
Here.
Chairman Fellows.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. So we are going to jump right into a proclamation. Proclamation 26-001, act on the request to approve a proclamation recognizing the 2026 Scarborough's Got Talent competition. Councilor Anderson will tee this up for us.
Yep. Thank you. So I had the pleasure of attending Scarborough's Got Talent this year. It was my first time going to it. One of my coworkers actually Friday afternoon was like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "I don't know, just hanging out with the kids." And she said, "You should totally come to Scarborough's Got Talent." And so we all packed up and went and watched, and I was just amazed at the talent of the students at our schools. But even more, as I was there and I just kind of like took a step back and just sat and like observed our community coming together. There were people there of all ages supporting each other. And it was just, to me, a beautiful event seeing everybody just come together to celebrate the arts and our students. And so when I was sitting there, I was like, I'm gonna ask to do a proclamation on this. And then the next day I wrote Corey asking if it was something we could do, and talked to the family in the school, and they agreed to participate, which was great. And Nathaniel was just amazing. All the students were amazing, but this young man who's about to perform for us, I think I was just blown away. And so I think it's just great to share with our community the talent. Also very great to share all the hard work our school does around music and the arts. We're about to go into budget season. And so as we do that, you know, having a real example before us of what that money is really going towards, I think is super important for our community to see and experience. And I know the school board always does so many things at their meetings to recognize all the students. And I know we've occasionally had some athletes come, but I can't recall a moment where we've actually observed the arts like this. And so I thought it was just important to make sure that we're looking at everything that our community has to offer and sharing it with everybody. So with that, I think Nathaniel's going to come up and say a few words, and the council can go into the audience while he comes up.
Hello.
While we celebrate and cheer and savor Scarborough's Got Talent together, I wanted to take a moment this evening to acknowledge a light that has faded in our lives, Dr. Justin Stebbins, a beloved member of our school community. Dr. Stebbins was a beautiful, accepting, sacred, sarcastic, loving, and caring person that we could all rely on to brighten our spirits. Thus, there was a stabbing pain in our hearts as we discovered that he had left us. To honor his lasting impression on our community, I would like to dedicate this reprise performance to him, as he was a very dear friend and companion of mine. Additionally, I would like to take a moment to recognize the music educators in our district who help students to grow as musicians and people every day. Thank you so much. There's a fire starting in our hearts, reaching a fever pitch that's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and tell me how, now lay your shit bare. See how I lead every bit of you. Don't underestimate that I will. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching fever made me how dark. Stars of your love, believe me, that I can't help feeling that we could have had it all. Stars of your love, believe me, that I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Only for the deep, you had the heart of your hand. And you needed to complete. Baby, I have no story to be told, but I've heard of one on you. I'm gonna make her heard. Think of me in the depths of despair. Make that stay home down there is my true home there. Stars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. Stars of your love, they leave me red. I can't help feeling because it's all and the heart I waited to be with a feeling, blow your soul, wherever you go, count your perfect, find you, turn my sorrow into treasure gold. Take me back to fantasy, but you we could have had it all. We could have had it all. It all, it all, it all. We could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, when the heart dies behind. Waiting to be could have had all. Rolling in the deep, when the heart dies behind. Waiting, waiting, you waited, waited.
All right, well, that's a hard act to follow, but now we will make it official. I would like to read this proclamation, Proclamation 26-001, Scarborough's Got Talent. Be it resolved by the Town of Scarborough, by the Town Council of the Town of Scarborough, Maine, and Town Council assembled that whereas Scarborough's Got Talent is an annual performance event for students in grades 6 through 12 and serves as the largest fundraiser supporting the Scarborough Music Boosters, and whereas the event provides a valuable opportunity for young performers to showcase their talents before a distinguished panel of 4 judges and an audience of approximately 500 to 600 community members competing for first, second, and third place honors. And whereas since its inception in 2019, Scarborough's Got Talent has become a celebrated tradition within the Scarborough school community, highlighting student creativity, confidence, and dedication to the performing arts. And whereas the event is made possible through the leadership and commitment of the Scarborough Music Boosters in partnership with Scarborough's grades 6 through 12 music educators. and the dedicated auditorium staff led by Auditorium Manager Eric Lehman under the presidency of Hirosian Estavalletti. And whereas through exceptional talent, preparation, and performance, eighth grader Nathaniel Bliss distinguished himself among many outstanding participants and earned first place at this year's Scarborough's Got Talent competition. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Nathaniel Bliss is hereby recognized and congratulated for his remarkable achievement, and the community extends its appreciation for his contribution to the arts and for exemplifying the creativity and excellence of Scarborough's students. Signed and dated this 4th day of March, 2026, on behalf of the Scarborough Town Council and Town Manager. We have a second. Any discussion on this? No? Good. Great. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And congratulations again. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have proclamation and a pin for you. Congratulations again. Thank you. Now we really have to transition. Thanks again. Thanks again for that. That was amazing. Great night. Item number 5, general public comments. This time we will welcome public comments on anything that is not on the agenda for this evening. As usual, we ask that you respect our etiquette guidelines and direct your comments to the chair. Keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. State your name and address. Thank you. Do we have anyone? Okay, going once, twice. Anyone online? No? Okay then, all right. Moving on, item number 6, the minutes of the February 18th, 2026 meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, all right. Counselor Doherty abstains since he was not there. Thank you. Adjustments to the agenda, there are none. Items to be signed, treasurer's warrants. I signed those just before the meeting and gave those to the clerk. And that brings us to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. Apologize for my absence last meeting. I understand Liam did a fine job. In fact, was congratulated, and perhaps Councilor Anderson said better than I can do. So
Did very well.
He did very, very well.
thank you, Liam. A couple quick updates. Scotty Hill Road, just a standing matter, as the council and the public, I think, is aware. This council had a workshop in early February, followed closely by a Council Corner Live. That forum was really designed specifically to receive resident feedback, and there were 25 people at that meeting. I thought it was very productive for that purpose. At this point, I intend to have a matter in front of this council at your next meeting on March 18th. Clearly, this will be budget consideration, but I think this has high profile enough and needs some direct line of sight for the public to have this council deliberate as a body before we get into the throes of budget and it gets lost in the mix of larger conversations. So we do look to bring that forward in 2 weeks. Legislative matters, this has been a hot topic for kind of the first couple of months this year. LD 2173, this is the fix-it bill for 1829. Councilors Anderson and Kane have been very involved in providing testimony. I've provided written testimony as well. There was a public hearing that was, I guess, postponed of sorts and rescheduled. I was not able to be there, but I know Councilor Kane was there. And then the Committee of Jurisdiction did have a work session in the following week on the 26th. Reports are that the committee members seem to take the input very well and take it seriously. I think Councilor Kane and other speakers were asked questions, which is always a good sign. They're interested in the testimony and want to know more. I understand the committee will be holding another work session yet to be scheduled. I think I'm somewhat hopeful that I think there will be some changes. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but, and I really think Scarborough has been a leader statewide in terms of advancing the concerns from the local level. I want to report on the third piece of our bond sales. You might recall we went to the bond market 3 times over the last 3 weeks or so. The most recent of which was on February 19th. This was for the so-called Series B, 4.7 million. I believe these are the bonds for the initial part of the school financing. This is the kind of the soft costs to provide for consulting and architectural support and other related matters. That sale was successful. We had 4 bidders, not as many and not as competitive, I'll say, as some of the prior ones where we had 9 bidders. And the total interest cost for that bond was 3.71%. So we're still tracking closely to what we've used in our models for fiscal impact analysis. And time will tell as we move forward. There'll be, by my estimation, at least 2, more than likely 3 additional bonding opportunities as the school project kind of unfolds over the next several years. With respect to the matter involving inland fisheries and wildlife, we did finally receive the letter. I think council and the public was aware that it was promised and had not been received yet. It did come late in the day on last Thursday. I believe all members of council have a copy of that. Essentially, there's a fairly specific recommendation provided, but it is important to note that it is couched as a recommendation. Council leadership and myself and Liam met earlier this week just to kind of talk about next steps. And just given the high profile nature of the issue, it was determined that it would be best for this council as a body to deliberate kind of what we do in response. To that end, we'll be scheduling a meeting of this body. We're not exactly sure when, but we appreciate kind of the interest in the matter and don't see the value in prolonging it any longer than necessary for at least the initial discussion. So stay tuned. We'll be publishing a date in the coming days, I suspect. In terms of budget, we are, this is the height of budget development for us. School department is always a bit ahead of us. Theirs is kind of further along in their internal review. We're still in development. Just last week was the deadline for department heads to provide their budget requests to me. So now I'm just now starting to get a sense of the full scope of the budget. I always have a hunch of where it's heading, but it's really important to kind of see it all together. And by the end of this week, I think we'll have that accomplished. To the end, I do want to note the school department has scheduled a couple of their reviews. These are fairly lengthy reviews, detailed reviews that involve the School Leadership Council presenting their budgets to the Board of Education and to the public for that matter. Those sessions are scheduled for March 11th, 4:30 to 7 in the evening. And then the following morning on the 12th, 8:30 to 11. And there's a whole schedule, much like the way we do it in terms of what will be considered both days. I believe Councilor Kane is intending to attend one or both of those sessions. So, and I suspect others may pop in as well. Just a kind of a cautionary note, we do face some headwinds this year. The county budget is now in focus, and we're looking at nearly a 14% increase from the county budget. And they've got a number of reasons for that development. Of course, we're no surprise to us. We know we're going to be bearing the impact of all the staff investments we made last year, which will be kind of fully in this FY27 budget. Despite that, we'll do our level best to meet your goal. And if we don't in the first instance, we'll help provide guidance in your review as to what choices you could make to get there. I do have a couple of other ads. I apologize. I tried to put this together very quickly. I was back just Thursday last week. So bear with me for just a moment. I continue to be very actively involved in a regional discussion regarding property tax policy and relief. And there's a whole wide range of strategies that are being talked about. Many of them follow fairly closely to the statewide conversation that's going on. Although at the local level, at the regional level, we're exploring a variation of the local option sales tax. It would be more regional county based, and just interested in kind of coming at it from a different perspective. And so we've got a follow-up meeting on Monday, and as we start to have more concrete ideas, I'll certainly share those. A couple other just announcements. The Board of Education is doing their third annual Senior Citizens Appreciation Dinner. That's on April 7th. I believe it starts at 4 p.m. at the Wentworth Cafeteria. That's an event that I believe all members of council have been invited to, just to put that on your calendars if you're interested. We've also become aware that there is likely to be a protest at the ICE detention facility this Friday, 3:30 to 5. We know that just through kind of monitoring social media channels. It's not as if they've come and sought permission or anything of the sort. Similar events have happened in the past. Fridays seem to be a thing, so we don't anticipate any challenges there. We'll be staffed appropriately, and I just want to make you aware that that's happening. The Eastern Trail Project, very exciting. They continue to make incredible progress. You may recall there's two deadlines. One is October of this year, 26, is to open the portion from Pleasant Hill Road to Wainwright Fields. That will certainly be done. And dare I say, I think they may be done the entire thing by this October with the progress they're making. All the abutments of the bridge are in place. And I believe the bridge maneuvering, placing the bridge structure is all scheduled. That has to be very carefully orchestrated with both CSX because it crosses over their railroad active line. And also it sits within a CMP corridor. And so these things won't happen by chance. They have to be very carefully coordinated. And I believe that there's an April date for that to occur. I will also mention, however, there are some cost overruns that we're doing our best to manage. A lot of it has to do with underestimating quantities in terms of and this is a 1.6 mile stretch. And so it's not a huge surprise that there is some variation unexpected. So we're doing our best working with our state partners to close those gaps. And lastly, just in terms of elections, you may recall the Board of Education has transitioned to do their elections in June. There are 2 BOE seats available this year. As of today, nomination papers are available and they must be returned by April 1st. I understand someone has already taken papers out, which is a great sign on day 1. But again, 2 seats on Board of Education and they can be taken out at the clerk's office. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thanks, Tom. Any questions for Tom?
Tom, just to follow up on the LD 1829 fix-it process, what you said there's another committee work session coming up. So will they announce that and will people be able to testify again, or is it
I don't.
productive to testify again?
We'll certainly be made aware. Many of us have subscribed
Yeah.
to a notification
Yep.
process, so I believe we will notice, we'll find out through that method. I'm not entirely clear, but my expectation would be that public would not be invited to be part of that. We can
Okay.
certainly witness their conversation. But I think it's more, as the title suggests, for their internal process to work
Okay.
through. The session is nearing end, so they're gonna have to really pick up their work. For those that have subscribed, it seems daily they're scheduling for all the other legislative work in front
Okay.
of the various committees. So we continue to track it very closely. I will say I'm very impressed with GPCOG. Jamie Garvin in particular
Yeah.
has really been on top of this.
Yeah.
And so I feel as though we're not going to miss anything in the process.
Tom.
Okay.
I watched the first one of those working sessions or part of it, and they did have, it seemed like subject matter experts kind of in the room, or that they knew they were. As a matter of fact, the planner from Westbrook was called up to give some, but I think that's more what it would be if they called on you, think more than that you could stand and give testimony.
Yeah, and it may be that they invite you because they have something in mind. It may also be organic. And so I think to the extent that we're aware of it and can be there, it would be good to be in the audience and be available should they have questions.
And I believe that session ends end of April, just for a frame of reference, so.
Right.
It is compressed. Any other questions for Tom? No?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Item number 10, excuse me, standing and special committee reports and liaison reports. We start down here with Michelle.
We Oh, so thank you. Larry and Counselor Kane and I had our last conversations with counselor meeting at the Public Safety Building on Saturday. We had about a dozen people attend. Very engaged group, a lot of new faces. In particular, one couple that's moved to town in like the last year, retired here and had really good things to say just about the level of engagement in the town and just the fact that they'd never lived in a town where the town government had actually been sort of going out to the people and really trying to engage with folks on a, more than 3 minutes at the podium type approach. So I thought they had great input and just some great perspective. A lot of the, I'd say, same topics came up that have been in the other probably 7 or 8 that I've attended, just around, growth. Larry and I spent quite a bit of time talking about the budget process, about LD 1829 and just the work the town had done and sort of taking the lead. People had questions about, traffic, roads, infrastructure, short-term rentals, Payne Road. So just sort of the same, I think, things that we've been focused on. But I think that people, really want those to keep happening. And we committed to that and said that every quarter we'll be going out and just, tell their neighbors and get more people there and just kind of encourage it. And, I think one of the early thoughts was, gee, only a dozen people. And then Larry and I kind of talked about it at the end and said it was so much more, in some ways, engaging with 12 people because all 12 people were very engaged and probably, not intimidated. If there's like 50 people in the room, people sometimes won't speak. So the conversation was rich.
Great. Thanks. John?
So just to build on what Michelle shared, that ended this cycle. I think our next one, we're trying to time it with the budget process so that we typically do budget roundtables. So instead of doing the roundtables, maybe instead focus on conversations with counselors through the budget process. And we would love to have the school participate in those since the budget is a big conversation. So we'll make sure to coordinate with the comms committee chair for the school just to make sure that they have those dates available if they want to come as well. Other than that, just also building on Michelle's comment about 12 people, we in the comms committee are thinking about piloting something where essentially we're looking for a diverse group of individuals to come and sit with us. We're thinking maybe this could be a monthly thing. We're looking for individuals who are just interested in topics happening in town, but also people who are kind of willing to be ambassadors or communicators within their network. And so I'll be sending a note out to the council asking if there's anybody that you would like us to reach out to. We're going to likely reach out to people first. And we've started a list of people we might want to reach out to try and get somewhere around 12 to 18 people in a room together, where again, we want to hear what they're hearing, but we also want to share with them what we're seeing and what's happening, hoping that, they'll get that information out through their networks. So again, just something we want to pilot and see how it goes. We're not trying to make it anything too formal at this point. It was actually Michelle's idea, and I think it's a great idea to at least explore and see what we want to do there.
Great, thanks. On that note, on the theme of conversations with counselors and also continuing kind of the school theme of the evening, one of the suggestions that came out of a conversation that I had when I met with the Kiwanis Club a few weeks ago, there's one of the members who works at one of the schools, was really trying to, there was a comment that there are particularly high school students who have an interest in being more engaged and having access to the council and having a little bit of a voice. And so the thought I had, given that we were in the middle of conversations with counselors, was maybe we could have at least one that's really more kind of targeted toward students. So that's something we can discuss offline, but I thought that was a great concept. Thanks. Bill?
The Sustainability Committee met. There was a presentation by David Cunhart on LD 2112 that is in Augusta on methods for towns to procure electricity. It's in the early stages. It's heavy. I don't pretend to know, but I was attentive to his presentation, and it was very well done. And there'll be more on that. That's in Augusta at the present time. The Housing Alliance met. It discussed the school impact fees question to reduce it for affordable housing, and of course, that's been raised here by the board. The Housing Alliance is also developing a housing assessment scope of work to propose be put out as an RFQ to identify some important data that would be useful to the town council, and the Housing Alliance.
Thanks. Karen?
Thanks. So as I mentioned at the last meeting, ordinance committee is actually meeting tomorrow instead of next week. So tomorrow at 5, the ordinance committee is meeting. We're going to finalize the short-term rental ordinance, which we pretty much, I think, did a good job at last month's meeting. And then that'll be coming to council. And then also we have updates to the traffic ordinance, and then the individual mobile food vendor truck is going to be coming through there as well. The planning board met this week, I guess for some reason they didn't before. Nothing big, just some minor developments. Not sure what's on their agenda for later this month. And then the Parks and Conservation Land Board is meeting next Tuesday at 12. And now that's the committee that reviews all of the land bond applications. They've finalized they've updated their land acquisition asset form. So I think that's going to be good for us. One of the things they're going to be discussing, though, is that we don't have a checklist to buy land with bond funds for recreational land, just conservation. So I think that's something that committee is going to be working on as well. And that's it.
Thanks. Larry?
Thanks. Finance, I just want to announce that we have canceled this month's March finance meeting, kind of under the, there was not any continuing things from the last meeting, and we're relieving the town a little bit of that, of the prep for that, and giving them more effort towards their initial budgeting process. The one thing I'll add to Michelle with the conversations with counselors is that there was a couple there who had only been in town for a year, and it was wonderful to see some new perspective. They were wildly appreciative that we were doing this, and they even sent Michelle and I a follow-up letter of thanks for putting it together. And they really, I think they said that they were just happy to be in a town that seemed to be taking the communication and the perspectives of the community into account. It was a different thing that they hadn't seen before. So there are great outcomes there. The school renovation project is moving along. They have, the Harriman Architects has met with kind of all levels of the school faculty and put together these programming meetings with virtually everybody. I could be corrected, but I think it was over 70 meetings that they did at all the different levels of the schools. So that's pretty much been completed, and that is right on target from a date standpoint for when they wanted to have that completed. And now start moving into next steps about preparation, taking all that into account. They've created mission statements kind of for each school, and they'll start moving towards refining the design of the buildings themselves. So that's right on track. And what else did I have? Oh, I was on, there's a sustainable Scarborough effort in town. That's a kind of a climate action plan. And that is in the process of doing 3 meetings between now and June. It's a big group with people from the community. There's consultants involved, leaders in town. And the first effort was kind of some roundtables, setups to start defining things around traffic was one. And also, I'm trying to think of the other one. There was 3 setups that you rotated through, but that's a great effort led by Jamie Finch, our sustainability coordinator. And that was a great kickoff. It was a 2-hour meeting and really productive. And I think that's everything I got. Thanks.
Thanks. Scott?
Yes. I was in the last meeting, so
Yeah.
as you can tell
Yeah.
by my voice,
Yeah.
have a committee with me next Tuesday.
Okay, great, thanks. I really don't have anything. Long-range planning meets next week, a week from Friday, I believe it is, Friday the 13th. We get 2 Friday the 13th in a row. I do want to thank Michelle for attending a meeting, GP Cog last week, in place of Larry and I, who both had conflicts that had come up. It was an opportunity for council members to meet and kind of compare notes along with GP Cog folks. And based on the notes that I saw from that and some of the materials, it seems like it was a really good discussion. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
It was a very engaged group. I think there were probably 12 or 13 towns represented. And big shout out to Allison Carrier and communication. I mean, the chair from Cape, when I sat down and introduced myself, she goes, oh, she said, your town does such a great job on communication, your Facebook pages, your police, you know, everything. And she said that, I think she said poached. I poach your stuff all the time. And I said, great. And then, you know, so there was a lot of, I think, really recognition of the efforts that have been going on for a long time with just trying to reach out to the community. And it's really a challenge to everybody. And it's funny because every town said, ever since we lost the leader or our town newspaper that we used to sort of chuckle at, it's like, we just don't know what to do. So every group there was sort of grappling with a lot of the same things. And I think as a whole, just really great conversation and openness. The Cape is the only one I think who has like the Cape Courier left, which someone that came to our meeting on Saturday, Larry, actually, she sent me a copy of their stuff. But it sounds like it's a grassroots town effort, and it's a little bit what you brought to the meeting, just trying to take a look at. But it's been ingrained in their culture for like decades. So it's just kind of an expectation, everybody's behind it. So they're the only ones, I think, producing anything paper.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to item 11, public hearings. 11.1, order number 26-018, the 7 p.m. public hearing and second reading on the proposed amendments to Chapter 415 Development Impact Fee Ordinance.
We do, Karen Martin has been the chief architect of this. She's available. I know she was here at your last meeting. I'm not sure if you need any further introduction to the matter. I think it's been fairly well vetted.
Is there anything you want to add, Larry?
That's true with Karen. Taking over from start. We'd like.
Sure, just a quick recap. Thank you.
As you know, once the voters approved the bonds for the school in November, we went to adjust the existing impact fees that have been in existence for many years. What we did is we took the value of the school project, looked at the additional new units that are going to be expected over time, and we looked at the new students, the capacity of the improvements that we're going to make available, some additional student capacity, and we molded all of that into a new impact fee that would basically repay the town approximately $52 million over 30 years, really the life of the school project itself. So we'd be looking at repaying ourselves for those bonds that are being passed. And it is consistent with some of the new factors that came forward in some amendments to the state law last year, one of which is making sure that you're actually assigning the funds that you're collecting to a specific cost. And since this is the school, we're already paying the school bond and we're paying ourselves back, I don't think we're ever going to be in a position of having to refund those funds because we've already spent them. I think one of the concerns has always been, have we collected fees that we're not using? And that would not be true in this situation. So again, the impact fee revisions really put a new schedule forward on each of the different types of housing units. what the new fee would be, and then the technical memorandum that was also submitted shows how we got there. What we do highlight is that there's many things going on right now in terms of how land use may change in the next 6 months or a year. So we certainly highlight that we should be prepared to go back and relook at the fees once we have a better sense of changes in land use. And changes in land use certainly would affect the forecast of new units. And that's what really the fee is based on, is how much money do you need to raise? How many new units are you going to expect over time? And so again, that's putting all of those pieces together, and that results in an impact fee that does increase a lot. There's no question about that, but there's not that many ways to allocate $52 million against the expected new homes over the next 30 years. So I think we've done a reasonable allocation of those funds. There's certainly other ways to do it, but this is one that sort of follows what we've done before and establishes a methodology and does very much anticipate that you'll need to be revisiting this.
Thanks, Karen. Again, this is second reading. We had some good discussion about this last time. This time I would welcome a motion.
Move public hearing. Public hearing.
Oh, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. This is also a public hearing. At this time, we would welcome any public comment. Please identify yourself and state your address and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less if you have a comment. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Tibbetts. I'm an attorney representing the Downs Project. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the school impact fee this evening. As you know, developers were encouraged to reach out to the council with feedback on this proposal, and we submitted a January 27th letter to that end. So I would just ask that that letter be reflected in the record tonight in addition to the following comments. As you know, Maine law permits the town to impose impact fees in lieu of requiring the construction of infrastructure improvements that are necessitated by development. Notably, as Ms. Martin indicated, changes to the impact fee statute adopted last July in an effort to limit municipal impact fees on housing development require the town to, quote, describe the manner by which it determines that a development necessitates an infrastructure improvement and how the developer's share of the cost of that improvement is determined. In addition, to, quote, establish a reasonable schedule under which it will encumber fees collected within 360 days of receipt. The proposal before you this evening has been developed solely as a means to fund a portion of debt for school construction projects. Under this proposal, 100% of new student enrollment is assigned to this projected future development. And that development is paying for a portion of existing facilities as well as the increased capacity within the Scarborough schools, regardless of whether the development actually uses the infrastructure. It is my opinion that this formula does not meet the statutory requirements of Maine law and would not withstand a legal challenge. Assessing a fee because the town needs to revenue to pay debt service is not the same as apportioning the cost of infrastructure improvements made necessary by development. The fee has to be related to the actual impact of development. The proposal relies entirely on housing unit type, despite the technical memorandum guidance that says, quote, not all units generate the same number of children, and, quote, the higher number of units per structure, the fewer the impact on the school. We couldn't agree more. A 1 or 2 bedroom unit with no kids has no impact on schools. The Downs alone has a significant number of 1 and 2 bedroom units that have very few school-aged children. Of the 610 units within the Downs built since 2018, there were just 62 school-aged children as of June 2025. Further, Scarborough school enrollment has actually declined since June 2019 by a net total of 116 students. As you can see, the data does not support the conclusion that all new residential units equal more students. Lastly, the proposal does not take into consideration the town's comprehensive plan, the statewide policy objective to make housing more affordable, and recent changes in Maine law related to housing density, all of which the Downs is actively working to address. We respectfully request that the council table this proposal tonight and review additional readily available data regarding unit size, bedroom count, and student enrollment to more clearly demonstrate how the impact fee is proportionally related to the development's use of the infrastructure to be funded. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? See, we do have someone online, but want to make sure we don't have anyone else here in the room. Okay.
Hi, Stanis Moody Roberts, 38 County Road. I overall support and commend the council for working on impact fees, school impact fees, as a way to help mitigate the property tax increase with the new school. But I spoke at the last meeting, and I still am concerned that the breakdown is inequitable. I'm particularly concerned about studio or one-bedroom ADUs, or in-law apartments might be called, where I think when I read this, they would fall under the single-family dwelling and cost, $11,391, when it's really has very little chance of any students actually living in a one bedroom or a studio ADU. And I'm concerned because right now that's the most affordable way that we can, that many people have potential access to housing. Building your own small home is right now the most cost-effective way that someone can get into home ownership. Takes a little bit of sweat equity, but you can build a 500 square foot garage apartment or ADU, studio ADU for under 100,000, and I'm just concerned that tacking on $11,391 in a fee that doesn't mirror that the likelihood of that dwelling actually having any children in schools has a significant impact on whether or not a project like that is possible for someone. For example, someone who's trying to build that apartment for their elderly parents. So I just ask, maybe, if I know it's late in this process, but if there's possibility to put an amendment in that it could be maybe phrased as one bedroom or less ADUs under 1,000 square feet, to put those in a separate fee structure so that we're not charging such a high impact fee against those types of dwelling units. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? All right. Appreciate those comments, and we will close the public hearing. And now I would welcome a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? John?
Can we get a clarification on how this applies to ADUs based on the comments that were just made?
Yes, and I talked with Autumn this week to make sure that I was clear about this. The ADUs, because they're an accessory dwelling unit, have not been charged a impact fee. They have been basically, there's no school impact fee for ADUs right now. That may change as we look at the differences in the new legislation coming out, but currently they are not being charged for the ADUs, and they would not be charged until that's specifically changed.
So
Go ahead.
I guess I'll do this now. But I did share with the council an amendment that I would like for consideration. And essentially, the amendment was giving a 50% discount to affordable and workforce housing units that are single family or single family attached. I had shared that this was something I was considering at the last council meeting. Councilor Kane pointed out that for the smaller or for the multi-units, that the way the fees were structured, they actually were better than they were before. And so did not include for like multi-units that same discount, since it seems like we're in a better position, or at least those would be in a better position. And so essentially my amendment is listed there in green, that basically for those 2 units cuts those the cost for those in half. And really my rationale for this was, we keep talking about how it's important to pave way for workforce and affordable housing. And we've seen an abundance of luxury apartments and things that are just more expensive. And it's likely that those types of organizations are going to be able to finance these types of projects and pass it down to you know, the eventual, you know, consumer. And that same thing will happen here. But the reality is the financing for these organizations to bring affordable projects is so much harder and much more complex that frankly, to date, I don't think in town we really have much that fall into this category, nor do I anticipate this alone is going to all of a sudden increase those units. But in the event we do find a way at some point to make it more simple to have workforce and affordable housing projects in Scarborough, I would like to try and remove as many barriers as we can. And the good news about this is, like, I know people are like, well, then does that mean we're not capturing the full value that Karen just mentioned? We are still would be capturing the full 52 million over 10 years. Again, this would just be as we monitor and track and see what happens and how the mix changes, we may have to change the fees to better accommodate the mix. And so again, we would still be collecting the same total, but at the end, it just would be another factor that would have to be assessed. And again, I don't anticipate near term we're going to see much of these in town, especially if we're not going to give CEAs or TIFs anytime soon, because they're really required in order for these types of projects to get financing. So I just hope the council will consider it. So with that, can I get a second?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did get a second, so.
Yeah. But now you can just.
Now, yeah.
Okay. I'll third it.
Yeah.
My question is, in this, how are they defining affordable versus workforce housing?
So we have actual definitions. So this one refers to chapter 405,
Okay.
which in there we specifically define workforce and affordable based on income.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, Karen, if you have the specifics, or Tom, you might have it.
Yeah, the definition for affordable is 80%
80%.
of area median income. And I believe workforce is 120%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where would Habitat for Humanity fall?
Not likely to be involved here.
At all?
No, the standard would be for a deed restricted property
Mm-hmm.
for us to have assurance that it will be affordable for some period in the future. And the Habitat model does not necessarily, in my experience, doesn't include that sort of perpetuity or guarantee going forward.
Okay, good.
Any other comments, questions on the amendment? Bill? No? Scott?
It just gets so much red tape and so confusing, and trying to figure out what's fair and what isn't. And we're spending all kinds of energy and time trying to fix this. And it just doesn't make sense. This fee thing, we have to have our employees, and the amount of money we spend on our employees and everything and our time to set up this fee structure. It's a wash, because the fees you collect, you use all that enforcing the fees.
It doesn't make sense to me at all. We just have to have a flat base thing, something simpler than trying to figure all of this in. And again, ADUs shouldn't be in it or whatever. Maybe if you just had it, anything over, 700,000, or maybe a 4-bedroom house, the bigger houses. That's usually that has school age kids. Cause when I grew up, we had a 3-bedroom house, 4 kids. My brother and I shared a room, my sister shared a room. Nowadays, they have 2 or 3 kids, everybody gets their own room. Nobody shares a room anymore. So the bigger houses do go for that. And again, it's people that can afford it, can afford a $700,000 or $800,000 home. So basically, if you get down to, and we should be building smaller homes, and not to say, and again, bedrooms really can't be tied to it, because my plan is to have maybe 3 or 4 bedroom houses, but very small bedrooms, very small living room, very small kitchen. It's a smaller house, but it has enough room to fit, a family affordably. And most people don't want that. The higher end in Scarborough, everything's selling right in a second for 800,000 because they're big houses, and and the developers are getting the big money. That's what they want to build. They don't want to build the small ones. There's not enough money in it. So, I just can't. I don't see the answer to this.
Do you have any an opinion or specific comment on John's amendment?
That was my whole spiel. It was about everything, but it was.
No, that's fine.
The last thing I said was, I don't see that there's a fix to this. I get it, and I understand, John, he tries. He really tries to come up with something that will work and make it a little better. But I just don't see it. So,
Thanks.
Thank you.
Larry?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to John for bringing this forward. I was originally, as we discussed this in finance, we discussed it and purposely eliminated the affordable housing deduction or whatever. And I think he's done it in a nuanced way where it's applying to these particular 2 instances of residential or single family attached. And so I'm definitely supporting it. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's well targeted. It's unlikely to have move the needle in any significant way in terms of impact to the town. And I think it's important where we can around the margins, which is generally where it is possible for us to sometimes provide a little bit of relief. And to Scott's comments, I mean, yeah, these are all imperfect instruments. And a lot of what we do is imperfect, and there are no magic bullets here, but I think every little bit helps. And I may have a little more to say about the ordinance, the general topic, but as far as the amendment is concerned, I'm in support. Any other comments or questions about the amendment?
Just one more, I support it as well. And as we're all talking, it connects to me to 1829 and some of the pieces we don't like about it, which is it's not really being surgical on what we're trying to achieve as a state, which is to provide more housing that people can actually afford to purchase and live in. So this actually supports on another level sort of our goal in trying to augment that legislation and to make sure that we're focused on building what we are sort of aligning with our goal of what we want added to the town.
Great. Thanks. If there are no other comments on the amendment, I will call the vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Could I just,
Sure.
the Housing Alliance provided
Yes, thank you.
commentary really in anticipation of this this amendment being offered. I did circulate that late this afternoon, so I just want to draw your attention to that.
Thanks. It's good to highlight that, and we appreciate their feedback. With that, I will call the vote on the amendment. All in favor? I believe that is 6-1. Thank you. And now back to the parent ordinance item. Any discussion on that? Bill?
Yeah, council for the Downs made several points that were, I did not, I have not analyzed them. And so I could not speak to whether or not we're buying litigation, which we all agree we should try to avoid at all costs. And so I think I would direct the question to the town manager as to whether or not, because the suggestion was just set it aside for the moment and get some answers from town council. And that may be the action that we would want to take so that we felt more grounded in our judgment on voting on the main motion.
Okay. Do you want to speak to that, Tom?
Only to the extent that we have not sought legal town council, that being legal review. This is a changing landscape. Much of this legislation is happening just in the last weeks and months, frankly. Having said that, I'm extremely confident with the methodology and the kind of the approach that was undertaken. This has been underway for 18 months, if not 24 months. And frankly, we're waiting for school approval to advance this. So I'm extremely confident in kind of the old regime in terms of the methodology. But admittedly, with the new state law changes, I've not had town legal counsel provide commentary with this draft.
Thanks. Anyone else? Larry?
I am so far from an attorney, you couldn't get there, but I believe that the majority of the changes we made here were not to the intent or structure, or it is really to the dollar amounts. And so in the past, as far as I know, I don't think there's been a challenge at all to the way we structured it, the reasoning behind the way we apply the percentages and the logic behind how the fees are determined. It's really the dollar amount that's changing. And the dollar amount is changing because of the new school project, not just arbitrarily. So again, no legal.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? John?
Yeah, I would just also say, it's hard for us to look into the crystal ball and predict the future in terms of what housing changes are going to happen and how people are going to react. And we don't know if a 2-bedroom apartment today that doesn't have kids in 5 years might have kids in it. And so I think that's part of this is like, it's trying to look into that 30-year crystal ball for what could happen in our community, not just what will directly happen, and making sure that we're being thoughtful, planful, and fair as well in terms of how we're allocating those costs. And so, I know as part of the school project, they talked a lot about the increased birth rate, and that's led to a lot of the increases that we're anticipating to see. But again, I would say as those numbers start to come to fruition, they could be too low, they could be too high. So we need to be prepared, and we need to be able to have that investment coming in. So I think it's as moderate as I think we can be, knowing that we can't predict everything, and tried to come up with something that is defensible and reasonable. And I totally understand for the development community that these are much higher costs because we're essentially doubling them. But we also are spending $140 million on a school project. And so that is like the unfortunate reality that those costs are probably weighing in a lot more into what these costs are actually going to have to be, regardless of how the percentages work out. It's going to be a big hit. And so I feel confident based on the work that Karen's done over several months, including similar work that she did last time when we were going through this process for the prior school, that, we have a good approach. And again, I think as we go, we'll learn and we'll tweak. And I think we're committed in this policy to review it annually or every so often to make sure that we know the true impacts and can try and get it even more accurate in the future.
Right. Thanks. I was going to say some version of a lot of what you said, John, as usual, but did you say planful? Is that a word?
It is now.
All right, good. I like it. Yeah, no, I do appreciate the comments and the concerns about equity and how accurately this kind of corresponds with the likely impacts, the school specific impacts. But as with John, I have confidence and Tom, I have confidence in folks who have worked on this, including staff and Karen. And we got into some of those nuances last time around, bedrooms versus other metrics and things like that. And I think it's also important to remember, sort of the main impetus behind this, which is that we do have a big project, and we're trying to sort of allocate the burden of that appropriately. And we hear a lot from our residents and taxpayers about how that's going to be hitting them. And we talked last time about how there may be some folks who end up at least indirectly paying for some of that twice through the impact fee that gets passed along to them and through their taxes once they're moved in. We recognize that. Again, these are imperfect instruments, but I think it's sort of as surgical as it can be at this point, and I'm in support. Any other comments or questions, discussion?
Thing
Sure.
to really stir up the hornet's nest. My regular spiel is we're spending too much money. You have to collect fees because the taxes, people can't afford the taxes. So you're trying to get taxes somewhere else, but you're still getting it from the people. Okay. And you keep adding these fees to everything in town and calling it, fees, but our taxes are still going up. The idea of it is to keep our taxes down and get along, but they're still going up and we're collecting fees. So we're just spending too much. When you build a police fire station like that, we had a brand new one over here. And they were on there with buckets on the floor saying the roof leaks. Oh, we need a new one. And first responders, the people say, they say they need a new, police fire station. Well, that one was fine. They had to have Betty's Diner. They had to buy that. They had to get her out to expand, and they expanded, built a brand new police station. And then they needed another one. And then the people, first responders, they say, okay, if that's what you need. But then they built this, and I was watching, from home at the last meeting, and they're talking about the radios and communications is way outdated. Well, maybe they should have downsized the building and they'd have the money. Why didn't they spend, tell us about it now? Now they're going to build this great big building. And then now they're going to come and say, by the way, we need another 1 or 2 million. By the way, we need another $1 million for a fire truck that we don't really need. This is my regular thing, and I'm going to take a hit because people don't like it when you go against first responders, and they're great people, and it's not personal. This isn't personal. It's money to the taxpayers of the town, and like I've said before, I can go to the bank and I can get a 2026 Corvette and I would get approval, but I'm not going to do it. I can't afford, I'm not going to strap myself that tight. And that's really what this, we're trying to go around and around, and it really comes down to if you're going to lower taxes, you have to lower your spending. And I'll keep saying that over and over again. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Anything else? With that, I will call the vote on the main motion. All in favor? That is 6-1. Thank you.
Could you just say those opposed, just to make it official?
Sure. All those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. 11.2, order number 26-019, a 7 p.m. public hearing and second reading on the proposed amendments to Chapter 1018 Cannabis Established Licensing Ordinance. I believe Liam will be teeing this up.
Sure. So this is the second reading and public hearing. In the simplest form, this is a change to Section 11 of the ordinance that stipulates odor violations. It proposes to reduce the threshold for a license or a cannabis establishment registration from 5 violations to 2 violations. And at that time, the business or the landowner or property owner would be remanded back to the town council for a license or registration suspension or revocation hearing. So that's the simplest introduction I can provide.
Great, thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Anyone who'd like to speak on this, come on up. You'll have 3 minutes. Anyone?
How are we doing tonight?
Good.
I'll start off here. I am Chris McNeil. I am the owner of Coastal Remedies, 3 Commercial Road in Scarborough. I'm a medical marijuana caregiver. I employ 30 folks. So I figured instead of getting 30 folks in here, 30 times 3 is a lot longer than 3 times 1. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys coming every single night. I don't know how you do it. Anyways, I wanted to start off with a little bit about myself. I am a 20-year retired school teacher. I got 3 kids. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm active in my community a few towns over. We're rivals. I coach. I'm involved, right? I tell you these things because I'm a normal guy. I'm approachable. I'm fairly easy to get along with. And I think that's important for the points that I'm trying to make here. I also want to go back and give you guys a little bit of a history of how this started. It's like I came to the possession of this business in, 2022, right about now. I've been about 4 years. So I had no idea there was a smell ordinance back then, and I never heard of it. Probably my fault. I operated my business, received no calls from anybody. Liam at some point said, hey, there's some concerns here. I knew nothing about it. The town passed the ordinance they passed. I was obviously against it for clear reasons. The town passed the ordinance. I made some changes. So that history is important because Mr. and Mrs. O'Brien, like I feel for them, right? Like I don't use cannabis, but I think it's a pretty valuable tool. I feel for them. My kids don't know what I do. I keep that to myself. I don't want weed around my house. I don't want the smell of it. So I get it, right? A couple of things. So throughout all this time, there's been almost zero communication between the town and myself. There's definitely been zero communication between the O'Briens and myself. I've said my phone number here publicly a number of times. I've passed a note to Mr. and Mrs. O'Brien a year or so ago with my number on it. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. The only person I've heard from, I believe, this Mr. Champamol. I believe he did a year ago call me up after I successfully fought the violation that the cops gave us without even coming onto the property. And I spoke to him and I said, hey, I said the same thing. I'm willing to work with you guys. I don't want you guys to live like this, but I got to have some communication, right? So I keep on hearing these things about persistent odor issues. I hear some of these things about accountability, right? And so I think accountability goes both ways. Like, I'm going to go over a little bit. When I hold my employees accountable, the expectations have to be clear, first of all, right? So I think you guys have done a good job. Here are the expectations, right? They got to be clear. Can't have weed smelling past the property line. That's perfectly understandable. I get it. But I think it also has to come with communication. So in order to have accountability, you have to have clear expectations and clear communication. So I think that's where the town has seriously failed. And I would say that that's where my neighbors have failed. There's been a lot of talk over the years of the good neighbor ordinance. I feel like I'm doing my best to be a good neighbor. I've got my life savings invested into this business, right? Retired from teaching for 20 years, put my retirement money into this business. So you best be sure that I'm not trying to lose my business over some haphazard running of my business, right? I just want to address one other thing before I give you a couple quick numbers.
Please wrap it up.
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
mean, again, I could have had 30 guys in here, so I'm gonna just, just go a minute longer here.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So Mr. O'Brien says that I said that at a zoning board meeting that no further investment will be made to address it. I've not seen any of you guys at my facility except for Don from last year, right? I can go back to these violations. 3 of them were in a week. I was installing thousands of dollars of equipment during that time, right? So if you go back through this, there's really only one verified odor violation. It didn't come when I wasn't installing thousands of dollars of equipment. After that violation in August of 25, I installed further thousands of dollars of equipment. I haven't heard a boo since then. If you look at 9/19.
Sir, we don't have time. We're not going to spend,
Yep.
litigate all
Yep,
this
I'm not
right
litigating.
now.
3 days is
You're
an
over
important
your
thing.
time, sir.
3 days in a row, there's an issue during harvest season. It could have been a neighbor. I'll leave you with 3 numbers, and I'll be done after this. The verified complaints represent less than 0.5% of the 577 days that have gone by since this ordinance took place, right? The 14 total complaints represent 2.4% of the total days that have occurred. And perhaps the most important number is 0% represents the number of days that have been communicated between the town, myself, or the neighbors and myself. So it leaves me feeling targeted by collusion between some members of the board and a select member.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cyrus Cheslak. I'm an attorney at Verrill, and I represent ZG Botanicals and Coastal Remedies, the owners of the parcels at 3 and 4 Commercial Road. I've worked in the legislative sphere. I was a legislative aide on Capitol Hill for almost 10 years. I was a clerk in the law court before I went into private practice. My practice now is mostly family businesses, small businesses, and commercial and construction land use cases. We oppose the 2 verified complaint amendment. We believe that really no less than 3 verified complaints would be more appropriate here. 3 strikes before a license is subject to suspension or revocation is a more fair, maybe more American rule. We also really strongly believe that all complaints need to be given to the owners of these properties. Verified complaints are helpful to the extent they're verified, but we have 80% of the complaints were never communicated. How can you make a change if nothing is ever communicated to you? There's a real disconnect between what this amendment would do and the real problem, which is there's 2 cannabis facilities in close proximity, and it's almost impossible to discern which could be violating the odor ordinance at any given time. It's an expensive proposition to investigate that. We are committed to collaborating to reduce an impact on the community at any time we can. To put that in, to put this 2 verified complaint proposal into context, if you are in complete compliance for 363 days of the year, that's pretty good. That's a good batting average. I'd take that and you'd probably get in the Hall of Fame with that. But 2 violations that's a pretty tough standard to meet, especially when you heard some of it is we're installing equipment. We're actively doing things that are causes. Give us a chance to fix it. Call us. There were 3 consecutive days in September 2025 with unverified complaints. Not a single communication went to either landowner. How can they fix it if they're not being told? We don't want to be cut out of the loop. We view ourselves as partners in this. We want to work with the town. We do not want to offend any neighbor. I mean, good for him for putting a complaint in. Positive civic engagement is quite a contrast from what we're seeing most times in politics today. And it's good that people are getting involved and they're going to government and they're trying to seek a positive change. It's not easy to do, and this is not easy work. Lowering the threshold from 5 to 2 puts these businesses at risk. These are 34 employees, however many are across the street. These companies generate tens of thousands of dollars of revenue. They employ many people, and there's a whole supply chain associated with it. They're fascinating facilities. If you've never been to one, I would encourage everyone to go visit. It's really remarkable. And you've never seen anything like it. And you don't even have to partake in any of the products. It's just neat to dork out on the installation of these HVAC systems and pumps and these other things. So to put all of this into perspective, these are companies that are trying to work. They're trying to get a good job done, and they don't want to offend anyone. They're trying to do this. Lowering the threshold to 2, we think is unfair. Not less than 3 would be more appropriate. But really, we need to be informed of any non-verified complaint within 1 or 2 business days or some reasonable period like that, because otherwise we just don't know there's an issue. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I'll also note that we do have your letter
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good evening, Paula Kobo O'Brien, Pondview Drive. I just want to reiterate a couple of things that I said last time. I didn't plan on speaking, and then I jotted a few notes after I became aware of certain things. First of all, when he says that he reached out to us and didn't want to talk to him, I will say that that was after several public insults that at least two of you were aware of sitting on the council that he made publicly here at the podium about us. We would like to leave it at 2. It's been long enough. I mean, we're going, the odor problem started in the summer of 2023. We're going to be going into the 4th summer. I don't know how long they expect us to be patient and it's just, we have our life savings into our home. And for the last almost 3 years, we haven't been able to, just, I don't know. I'm just so frustrated. And he said that one time that he was working on it and fixing it. We complained one time. 9 days later, there was a town council meeting. We spoke at it. He was here. He never said a word about them working on it that very time. We went home from the council meeting. That's when we called. It just blew us away, the odor. Nobody ever said anything here at the council meeting that they were working on it. I just, it's just very frustrating. And it wasn't until the Zoning Board of Appeals in the March of 2025 that they started blaming it on number 4. And we still don't for a minute believe it was number 4 because number 4 has been operating for a long time. They went into business, a new cannabis business went into number 3 in August of 2022. We started getting the odor in in 2023, the summer of 2023, and that's so for them to play it back and forth like this, it's just a total game. Maybe instead of spending all the money on expensive attorney fees, he ought to put it in a decent filtration system and stop blaming us. It's not our fault if he doesn't want to spend the money on a decent filtration system. And it's just, it's just very frustrating. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? I know we have someone online. Let's go ahead and take that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Denise Hamilton, 2 Rod Road. I don't have a dog in this fight. However, having had a grower next to me, who may still be doing something for personal use, not sure. I've followed this for several years. I was very much, familiar when this ordinance was being passed back before COVID. I thought 5 strikes was too much. There's an ordinance, an odor ordinance. There's good neighbor ordinance about odor. There should be 0 odor. It appears that other growers in town are not having issues. It just seems to be commercial road. And if, it can't be determined which one it is, then maybe they both should be summoned. But I think 2 is fair because it should be 0. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you for the comments. With that, we will close the public hearing, and I would welcome a motion on this item.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Council discussion. Karen?
Sure.
So I think I spoke at length about this at the first read, but I just kind of wanted to reiterate or just kind of remind people that this actually, the original ordinance for cannabis came forward due to Snow's Canning and the smells that they were having at Snow's Canning. And I think what we established through that process was that they were able to completely 100% resolve the smell issues. I live in that area, so I can tell you, we do not smell it at all anymore. And so I think what we've seen in town is that the cultivators in our town are totally capable of cultivating and doing it without creating any smell at all. So, you know, I'm kind of with Denise Hamilton. I kind of feel like it should be at 0, but you know, we want to be reasonable. And I also just want to say that I do hear the language of that, you know, you're having a revocation hearing. That doesn't mean we're automatically revoking your license. I mean, that's not my interpretation. That means that gives you the opportunity to explain to us, we're putting in new vents. It give us another chance. I think most people would be reasonable when it comes to that. And I think the neighbors have been more than patient and willing. And I think this is a really good compromise considering what we've seen being capable of done with the situation.
Thanks. Anyone else? Scott?
Yeah, again, you, you have business people and you have residents, and we've run into this before, and I can sympathize with both. But again, like Karen said, we had a problem at Summers Canning. I think kind of the solution is, and I think the 2 warnings is probably more than enough. I don't see any other cannabis people here saying, oh, that's gonna devastate us, because I think that it's a 0 usually. So I would just say to these guys, the best thing to do is maybe they say for us to go visit them, but I ain't gonna know what the heck is going on there. I think they should go visit maybe the Snow's Canning one and get some ideas from them and say, what did you do? What was the problem? And what did you do? And then they'll be fine. And because I don't think the O'Briens want to put anybody out of business. They just don't want to have that odor at their house. And so I hope that they'll be able to fix the problem. That would be the ultimate solution. Yeah.
Thanks. Blair?
Yeah, I was gonna go right where Karen did also, is that this isn't 2 and you're out of business. It's 2 and you got some work to do. And so that kind of made me feel better about the kind of business rights aspect of it. And so I'll definitely support it.
Thanks. Anyone else down here? Bill?
I mean, there's clearly a problem that this neighborhood has experienced. And we've certainly gotten the owner who's creating the problem their attention, which I think is a good thing. After 2 violations, they are not shut down. They come here and we have an analysis. But we've gotten their attention with what we're proposing, and that's the objective. Get their attention, make them do whatever is necessary to correct the problem. It's a neighborhood. So I'm in favor of it.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah,
Michelle?
I agree with everything people have said, and I'm kind of where Karen was. I mean, if I were probably making the decision, I would say 0 tolerance as well. I smelled the snow canning. I used to go on the beach a lot and it was overpowering. I've smelled it at the O'Briens. It's a fixable situation. There's been a couple of years here where they had a chance to remedy this, and I feel like that it's the system, the O'Briens, we have been more than patient. And I feel like that even doing 2 strikes at this point is showing a lot of tolerance on our end of things. And I'm with Bill. It's a neighborhood, and I think there's been plenty of forewarning, and I've lost patience with the situation.
John?
Yeah, no, I think this is reasonable. Again, like I said last time, 5 strikes always felt too high to begin with, and really shooting for 0 should be the goal. So my hope is that eventually the business owner will be able to find a way to fix whatever problem is occurring, or even as the business owner was saying, communication is important. I do think it's reasonable to say, if there is a verified complaint, that the town should notify and let them know, just so that they're aware if that's not happening. But I would also say, if you're a good neighbor and you know you're doing something that could produce an odor, you also should talk to your neighbors and let them know that there could be an issue, so that they're prepared and can have that expectation, because communication really goes both ways. And so, I would encourage that type of collaboration in the neighborhood to try and occur, if people are open to it. Again, I know there's been a lot of words shared, a lot of history around this topic with a lot of the same players. And so I'm not saying they have to, but I think, being a good neighbor goes both ways. So again, I'm going to support this tonight. And I think, hopefully the business will be able to solve it. And if not, then it will come here and we will address it as we need to.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, and including the notion of communication going both ways among neighbors, whether it's residential neighbor to residential neighbor, or, resident to business owner or manager. And I certainly don't think these things are mutually exclusive. I think we can support this change and also encourage potential tweaks to communication protocols if that helps with the administration of things. But as I mentioned last time, I do, based on everything that my understanding of how everything has unfolded over the years, I'm appreciative of the effort that staff has made to try and facilitate communication and try to reach positive outcomes here. So without belaboring things any further, I will call the vote. All in favor?
Just one more thing.
Oh, sure.
That brings up another issue that I hadn't thought of, about the communication. I assume it's the police that goes and does and smells it, and they have to do it. And I think the next step should be that the police officers go right through the back of the yard to the business and tell where the smell is coming from. But not only that, go in the business and say, I've been called about a complaint, because they should know. I mean, that isn't right if they don't even know what's going on. And their strikes against them are accumulating and they don't even know it. That is a problem. So I think definitely communication, we should do something more on that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I just respond? So just for some, by way of background with regard to the communication between the town and if a report was verified, that means that the police officer responded, they verified that there was an odor violation, and then was able to attribute the source to a specific business. The business was absolutely notified by the code department and notice of violation. I do know that under the prior zoning administrator, I suspect that out of a courtesy, if there was a report, even if it wasn't verified, I think you would often notify the business owner, say, hey, we got a report, it wasn't verified, but just FYI, there was concern. That's not an expectation or a requirement, by virtue of the fact that if we can't source it and we can't attribute the violation to a specific business, who should the town be notifying? I mean, certainly logic would maybe suggest we notify all the businesses in the area, but I just want to dispel any confusion that if there was a verified complaint, there absolutely is formality notifying the business owner, oftentimes sooner, even before the official notice of violation was received.
Thanks, Liam. Any final comments before I call the vote? Sorry about that, Scott. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 11.3, order number 26-023, 7 p.m. public hearing and action on the new request for a food handler's license from Tractor Supply Company Northeast LLC, doing business as Tractor Supply, located at 442 US Route 1, Suite 2, and from Topsit Meals LLC, located at 429 US Route 1.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry?
As noted in the order, these are new requests, and per the food handlers ordinance, they require public hearing and initial approval by the town council. Staff has vetted the applications. They found to be in compliance, and the town clerk's office requested.
Great. Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing on this item. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak, here or online. All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Oh, second. Who was that? I wasn't looking. Oh, that's it.
Did we have a second?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any council discussion? Right? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to old business, 12.1, order number 26-020, second reading to amend order number 25-115, adopted by the town council on December 17th, 2025. The original order be and hereby is amended by replacing the original school project with the replacement school project as noted in the supporting documentation. I believe our finance director is up.
This one's real easy. I put the wrong project name on the
Right.
bond order.
Okay.
So I'm asking for council, it's part of the bonding process. The project list has to line up with the bond order and line up with the budget. So this gets all three in alignment and we're calling it the right thing. And we're correcting a goof.
Great. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Boom.
Any public comment on this item?
No.
No? Any council discussion?
No.
Yes.
Everybody makes mistakes, right?
Even Norm? All right. Okay. Duly noted. Anyone else? No. I will call the vote. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. New business, 13.1, order number 26-024. Act on the request from Scarborough Public Safety to accept the Tyler Technology Excellence Award in the amount of $3,610.
Yes, very quickly by background, about 2 years ago, we implemented a whole new system for our dispatch, and Tyler Technologies, I say local, they're actually multinational now, but
Yarmouth and Texas.
right, exactly. But they actually help us with our core financial software, but they've also been a good partner for public safety. Through that process, they are recognizing Scarborough Public Safety for their excellence. And as part of that, there is sponsorship to have one of our staff members attend their annual conference. The total amount is about $3,600 for conference attendance, travel, and the like.
Thanks, Tom.
So who's going?
I believe Joe Thornton.
Okay.
Yep. I believe you met him last meeting. Yep.
Great.
Very good.
We have a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Any council discussion? Right. Great to have outside sponsorship.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that recognition. I will call the vote. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. There are no non-action items, and that takes us to council member comments. John?
Yep. First, I want to wish Karen a happy birthday because it was just your birthday.
Ooh.
I was going to ask Nathaniel if he would lead us in a rendition of Happy Birthday, but Tom told me he wanted to do it instead, so no. And I also just wanted to recognize Michelle. One, I'm sorry, I'm always looking this way and you're behind me and I always forget to turn and look at you. But you have been such a wonderful addition to the council and I'm just so impressed with how much you've gotten up to speed and how you are thoughtful. You're definitely balancing all the issues and trying to come up with, a very balanced view. And I really appreciate you being here. And I think you've just been an awesome addition to the council. And I just wanted to publicly acknowledge how glad I am that you're here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
And then the only other thing that I will say, I can be really impatient sometimes. And, I've been talking with Corey and Larry a little bit about growth because I know we've been doing a lot with LD 1829 and I think that's great. but I'm still itching to get my hands dirty in terms of what's our plan around other things that we can do, even if LD 1829 wasn't here. And so I'm just looking forward to, at some point with this council, taking all the great ideas that I think we all have, hearing from our planner, and hopefully getting a plan together that we can implement, even if it's just tiny things here and there, knowing that there's probably some big things. And then even with whatever's going to happen with LD 1829, we do have our rate of growth ordinance that is set to expire that will just roll over, which again, we can address before LD 1829 happens. So again, I just want to emphasize that because it is probably the biggest focus of this council. And while we've been doing a lot for 1829, I would like to keep that momentum going and not have it be so much of a gating factor for more work that we need to do. That's it.
Thanks. Anyone else? Larry?
Yeah, I have two things that I'm curious about. One is I want to look into what food Tractor Supply is serving.
Yeah.
So that was one of them, and inspired by the work that John did to bring in the student tonight to sing and all, I think it could be an inspiration for us for counselors have talent. And so we could each, perform after a meeting or something.
I'll be your agent. I won't be singing.
Yeah, good, thanks.
That's
Yeah.
a no.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be singing. I mean, there are a lot of different talents people have. Yeah. Anyone else? I appreciate John commenting on growth, and that has been, we have had some side discussions about that, and John's absolutely right. We've, certainly LD 1829/2173 has taken up a lot of oxygen for both the council and staff, and I'm proud of what we've done and the leadership that Scarborough has shown in that, and it's been recognized as noted previously. But I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time, speaking of talents. And so we want to make sure that we are still advancing things where we can beyond that. So I look forward to having more of those conversations. On a housekeeping note, I will not be at the March 18th meeting. So Larry will be at the helm. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be in good hands. Anything else? That I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
So what's our succession planning?
I don't know. That's a good question.